Pete,
Sir?
an exciting week.
Yeah.
There are Star Wars rumor mills in full effect. Lots going on.
Yeah, and it was kind of cool. Some of those rumors were shot down like immediately.
They were, and I'm fine with it. I
Yep.
think the one I'm most excited about, though, is we know at this point, 100% confirmed, the Rey movie is going to be called Episode X: A New Beginning.
Episode X. Well, I'm sorry, man, but that's one of the ones that was shot down right away.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's disappointing, I'm gonna be honest. But
yes,
you know what? I can take solace in knowing at least we've still got the Mando video game. I'm excited for that junk.
Well, why don't we just get this show started? This is ATG Live. Well, welcome to ATG Live, your Thursday night home for all things Star Wars conversation, guests. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Pete Fletzer, and I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Nick Mielke. Nick, how's it going, man? What's going on?
I am doing fantastic, and we joked in the cold open that there's Star Wars rumors. There's lots going on.
Yeah.
There's things getting shot down. Matthew said it even in the chat. Star Wars is ruining Nick's life again. We've heard these rumors, and Star Wars is nothing if not filled with rumors, as most fandoms are when people are joking or predicting or wanting things to happen. But we saw something interesting this week. We have seen Lucasfilm step up a little bit and kind of categorically deny some things, including the supposed title of the Rey movie. They even called out somebody on Twitter and said that's categorically not true. That's not what it is. So
yeah. I mean, we were talking a little bit before we got started. It's encouraging to see that they're getting ahead of this, which to me also says that this Rey movie is the real deal. It's going to happen, and they want to control it and make sure it keeps going. I'm excited. There's focus on this movie.
I am too, and I think that also shows that as Lucasfilm and Disney continues to kind of understand, the environment that we are in at this point, how do they want to operate? How do they want to market? How do they want to get, out in front of this stuff? So that's encouraging. We would love to see it. We want it to keep going. But in the meantime, there was also some real news this week.
That's right. The Mando game is, in fact, dead in the water.
Hate to hear it. We also have some news about the Acolyte and one of its main stars talking about how they feel about that show coming up.
Yeah, and Lucasfilm is prioritizing a tax cut when it comes to shooting their new movie.
'Tis the season. April's right around the corner.
Yes, sir.
And Jar Jar Binks is back. We always love it when we have a Mod Best news.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess we'll go in depth on those headlines in just a few minutes, but we also have a fantastic guest joining us tonight in the form of Arda Ocal from ESPN. I can't wait to talk to him about his TED Talks and his recent trip to Galaxy's Edge.
Without a doubt. Absolutely. Always exciting when Arda's around. Last time he was with us, it was my birthday show, and I believe he came on specifically to make us take shots. If you remember the birthday bingo episode, it was its own special kind of crazy. So we love Arda. We love that he's hanging out. A little bit of housekeeping. We do this every single week. We want you to subscribe. We want you to hit that button, the little bell. If you're here watching right now, odds are you're already subscribed. So what we would love it if you would do is share us out with your friends, with your family. If you have a burner account, go ahead and subscribe on that one. Why not? I feel like I could go ahead and make a few more, but we're at 943 subscribers on YouTube. We are just a hair over 57, if I'm good at math, which I'm not, from 1,000. And that's a big deal in the YouTube world. We'd love to hit that 1,000 mark. And we are most of the way there because of you, but we'd love it if you would chime in, hit that bell, hit the reminders every week. We were talking also earlier this afternoon, over the next 4, 5, 6 weeks, we have a bunch of guests already lined up, and it's going to be a great stretch for what we are really loving in this new version of ATG Live.
Absolutely. You're going to want to be hanging out for those. And also make sure to follow us on social media, because that's the best way to find out who we have, when we have, what's going on. You can follow us on Twitter at ATGcast, and everywhere else you can find us at the SSW Network. Head on over to our website, the sswnetwork.com to find all the links to shows and to Patreon programs and to our merch. And by the way, if you're interested in our merch store, we've cleaned it up a bit. We've thinned it out. We've made it a little easier for you to use. Head on over there and use the code SHILL15, and you will get 15% off your entire order. There's still some really cool stuff there.
Absolutely. And speaking of, you mentioned our Patreon program, which you can find on the website. I want to also double down on encouraging you. If you're not a Patreon supporter, we would love for you to join that for as little as $3 a month. You can support what we are doing with the network, with the shows we do. One of the perks of that is you get to get in early on our Around the Galaxy, which is our long form interview podcast. Get to watch some of those ahead of time live while the guest is on. And speaking of that, today we dropped our interview with Alex Arnold. He's the Indiana Jones guy that you have seen on Facebook, Twitter, all those places. Some of y'all got to hang out and watch that. If you didn't, coming up this Sunday night, we are going to be interviewing Clinton Yates. Clinton is also another employee of ESPN. And we're excited to have him on to talk about his Star Wars background story. And he is co-host with our tonight guest, Mr. Arda Ocal, and also Ryan McGee. If you watch NASCAR or college football, you know who Ryan McGee is. Those three guys all work for ESPN. Huge Star Wars fans, and they actually have the official ESPN Star Wars podcast called Never Tell Me the Odds. So Sunday night, join the Patreon. You could hear us talk to Clinton about that.
I don't watch NASCAR or college basketball, so I'm going to have to take your word for that. But finally, did you know, Nick, that we have a voicemail line?
I am aware.
Oh, you are aware. Yes, you are. Yeah, you left me a nice voicemail this week. Appreciate it.
I work here, so it's fine.
Call us at 540-321-1501, 540-321-1501. Whenever the mood strikes, put it in your phone. If you're watching Bad Batch and you want to leave us a comment, which I'm surprised nobody did this week, but hey, next week you're going to watch Bad Batch. You're going to want to leave us a comment, your hot takes, whatever. We'd love to hear from you anytime, your Star Wars thoughts, or if you just want to say hi. You never know. It's cool. Call us at 504-321-1501.
Well, I mean, we've got so much going on. There's a bunch of things happening. News is coming up right after this break, and then we're going to get to our guest, Arda Ocal from ESPN. So, Pete, let's hit a break, and when we come back, let's talk about the news.
We'll be right back with more ATG Live. Well, welcome back to ATG Live, your Thursday night hangout for all things Star Wars. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you're here for the first time, and I think you might be, there's a handful of you who are there, hit that subscribe button, hit that reminder button, tell a friend, tell a family member, hang out with us. We are at that point of the show where we hit the news for the week. So, Lloyd, do that thing you do before we hit the news.
Well, Pete, we have an acolyte star feeling the pressure. In an interview released from Magazine C, the star of the upcoming Disney Plus Star Wars live-action series, The Acolyte, Amanda Stenberg, shared their feelings about being the face of the next wave of stories from a galaxy far, far away. Stenberg said they are a fan, and we've seen that proven in post on her Instagram account, Star Wars props, their arrival in Padme's Attack of the Clones cosplay at Celebration in 2023. But this also, they say, adds to the pressure. And I say, quote, I am feeling more trepidation than I thought. I have a really, really heavy load in the show. As for the story of the show itself, Stenberg said, quote, in the context of the Star Wars universe, it's a time of great peace theoretically. We're trying to explore within our show when an institution has a singular conception of power and how it can be used. We try to provide a lot of different perspectives and answers to that question. The idea is to kind of honor the ethos of Star Wars and ideas around the Force and also challenge them, hopefully harmoniously, end quote. As of now, The Acolyte is currently rumored to drop in on June 5th on Disney Plus, as I believe you predicted months and months and months ago.
I did.
So here's the deal.
Yeah.
We have this actor, we have this person who is working on Star Wars. They're feeling the pressure. Do you think that the pressure that Stenberg is feeling comes from knowing the rough ways that previous Star Wars actors, Ahmed Best, Jake Lloyd, Moses Ingram, Kelly Marie Tran, and so on, has been treated? Or do you think that the pressure is coming more from kind of the quote unquote story perspective, as she's a big Star Wars fan and is facing a heavy story? What do you think that lines up for you?
Yeah, I think honestly, it's this weird combination of all of it, right? I mean, Amanda Stenberg is an African American woman who is out of the closet and is openly, I think she says, bisexual. In pieces of the Star Wars fandom, that is going to cause a problem. She's like 0 for 2 to start from the gate, as far as some of the grifters are concerned, some of the laser eyes websites. However, I'll tell you my biggest challenge, and this is what kills me about where we are with the fandom right now, and I need to just forget about it. I need to make sure that we forget about it. The only the only feeling that I'm having right now is anxiety. I want to love and be excited and jump into this show, but as a Star Wars fan who's online, who runs a popular podcast like we do, we know the bullshit that's coming around this show. I want to just relax and enjoy the show, and I really want Amanda Stenberg to be able to have a phenomenal experience. And maybe that's why, as we talked about a little bit earlier, maybe that's why Star Wars is trying to get ahead of the garbage that we're seeing online, whether it's rumors about titles or anything like that. Maybe they just want to make sure we're having a positive experience with Star Wars.
Without a doubt. And we saw that with Obi-Wan Kenobi. We saw that with Moses Ingram and Reva.
Yep.
You had Lucasfilm stepping up. Even the actors, Ewan McGregor stepped up, did a video in his car, voicing his support.
Yep.
And, that's not to minimize that, but reality is this is the world we live in. And I'm thankful that we have a franchise like Lucasfilm, or a company like Lucasfilm, who is looking out for its talent. And they want these people to be involved. They pick them because they're talented. They pick them because they're great at what they do. And they want to create this narrative and create these stories with these characters and with these people. So it encourages me to see whether it's, squashing rumors of a movie title, or, stepping up to support their talent. I like that there's some kind of proactive nature behind it. And I hope that, I hope that more of their comments were about the heaviness of the story and what they want to carry and portray than it was fear of personal attacks. I mean, we want it to be about the art and the craft.
Yeah. And I think I'm really hopeful that that's where it is as well. And I mean, Amanda Stenberg is a fan. She has shown that she came out at Star Wars Celebration in a Padme costume. She's a fan, so she gets the pressure, right? So well, let's hope for the best there for sure. Well, on to our next story. The Mandalorian is shooting in California. In a move that would make the Trade Federation proud, the next Star Wars film, currently called The Mandalorian and Grogu, will be shooting entirely in California to take advantage of one of the Golden State's largest tax breaks ever, almost $22 million. The cast and crew is said to be made up of 500 crew members, 54 cast members, 3,500 quote-unquote background players, I don't know what that means, and will take 92 days to shoot. If the rumored start date is correct, the filming will wrap in mid-October, and that's still shorter than The Rise of Skywalker, which shot over 6 months. This is going to be the first Star Wars movie filmed entirely in California. Nick, I don't know how I feel about this. Once again, I want to be positive. I'm generally positive. But with things like recently, we just read about, we've been seeing a lot about the was it Roadrunner movie, which got shelved for a tax write-off. I mean, I'm glad that Lucasfilm is taking advantage of the tax write-offs, but man, I hope that's not driving decisions, because what's a Star Wars that's not shot in Tunisia, right? Or at Pinewood Studios in London. So I'm a little concerned. I'm a little nervous. It just might be the old school thinking that I have, but what are your thoughts on it?
Well, we talked about this a little bit last week, and you were not with us, but Corey, our friend Corey Ryan Forrester, we talked about, the low budget, quote unquote, low budget, $130-ish million.
Yeah. Yep.
What does that mean? That's essentially the budget of a season of The Mandalorian. I think this is nothing but positives. And despite the sarcastic, grouchy nature that I carry most of my everyday life,
Right.
I am an optimist at heart. And I think that there is a lot of positives in this. I think being lean, working quick, having the ability to take advantage of something like a tax break we talked about last week. I think, in fact, it was Cheyenne that said, that doesn't take into account marketing budget and all these other things. I think this is all positives. One, we don't know what the story is, so it may be all set somewhere on the Forest of Endor, which means, hey, we just have to be in the Redwood Forest. We don't know, the different elements that are going to play into this. I see it as nothing but a positive because you look at, a 3-month movie shoot, 92 days, you said. So we're looking at, a month or 3 months and 2 days. One of the positives is that means that movie could very well be out late 2025. That's not that far away when we really think about it.
Yeah.
To me, this is a positive. This is something that we go, hey, let's be smart about it. Let's take advantage of the thing. If you have tools at play, use them. Work smarter, not harder. That's what I think they're doing right now.
The only thing keeping me from really being paranoid about this is the fact that Filoni knows how to use the tools, right? And my concern, my fear is that they have fallen in love so much with the volume that when you watch something like, and I'm going to say it, and it's not going to make a lot of people happy, but Kenobi looked flat to me. It was in some amazing locations, but the volume didn't fully work. And but again, as I said, not Filoni, Favreau.
Yeah.
Favreau shot one of the first versions of the volume when he did Jungle Book. So he gets it. He knows how to use the tools. He's not going to be blinded by it. But man, I just worry about such a small set for such a major franchise. It's not the kind of thing we've seen before from Star Wars. Generally, they go enormous.
Right. Well, and I think if you look at Mando season 2, the iconic shot of Fennec Shand jumping backwards, shooting as she's jumping off that cliff.
Yep.
That was shot on set in California. So again, I think story dependence, where are they going to be? Is it something that they can stage? I think you're right. I think that ultimately the volume is going to play into it because you have this tool. If your boss tells you, hey, you can do work on Zoom, you're going to do work on Zoom. I also think that depending on where the locations in the movie are going to be, that also has the ability to still be practical and still be on set. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
We shall see for sure. What's up next, Nick?
Well, Jar Jar Binks is making a comeback, and I think we're both going to agree 100% we're in favor of that. On Tuesday, actor Ahmed Best dropped a selfie on Instagram in his account in a complete motion capture head-to-tail suit on a large set. The caption just read, quote unquote, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. One of my favorites from The Godfather Part 3. Adding to the mystery was the wide range of hashtags that he used when he included it. Hashtag mocap, Star Wars, Activision, Jedi, Sith Lord, and 2 of the characters he has played, Keller and Beck from The Mandalorian, and of course the iconic Jar Jar Binks. The inclusion, though, of the hashtag Activision implies the possibility that the big video game company may be creating something in the Star Wars space. But also at the same time, also in recent Star Wars game news, they have not been named as one of the studios. We've heard about games lately, a couple different things. Knights of the Old Republic, the supposed Mandalorian game. Activision hasn't been a part of that as far as we know. Activision is also not the company that brought Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy games to the market. So the question is, what does this mean? So here's my take. Yes, please, and thank you. We need Ahmed Best in Star Wars every possible chance we get. I don't care if it's a video game, TV, movie, game show, comic book, anything else. Wonderful man has overcome a lot of adversity. Seemingly, it has never let him get so far down. I think he's a great ambassador for Star Wars. Yep. Overall, I think about our friends Christina Ariel, Kristen Baver, some of those people. Here's what I think. What if one of the next things that Ahmed Best does is that he is a quote unquote Lucasfilm ambassador? He's somebody who introduces a behind the scenes feature. He's somebody who's a part of main stage stuff at celebrations. Like, let's let this man continue to develop his love, not only for this fandom, but for the roles and stuff that he's played. Pete, what about Ahmed Best as a face of the franchise?
I love that as a concept. I think, Anthony Daniels did it for a while.
Mhm.
Anthony Daniels, the only Star Wars celebrity that has me blocked on Twitter, and I still don't know why. I like to say it's because you know who really loves Anthony Daniels? Anthony Daniels.
Anthony
But
Daniels.
anyway, I digress. Anthony Daniels, you have Warwick Davis has been the face of the franchise. And you know what? The
Yeah.
kids that love Jar Jar Binks are the next ones going to Star Wars Celebration. Let's
Yes,
put
they are.
Ahmed on stage. I am excited about where this could go. I hope it's Jar Jar in some sort of live action show. But the Activision tag kind of deflated that hope.
Right.
I think we'll see him in some sort of game, but I don't know which game. I don't know where he's gonna show up. Maybe it's a Jar Jar Binks game. I mean, I don't know. Or it could just be. I mean, you know, our good friend Deborah Wilson, who's been on the show a couple times. Maybe he's just doing character. Maybe he's doing a generic
Mhm.
Gungan. Maybe he's doing
Right.
just some mocap work or performance capture, as Deborah told us. I'll never forget
That's
that.
exactly right.
But it's really, I would love to see him. I would love to see live action in Jar Jar, maybe in, I don't even know where. I mean, look, Jar Jar was mentioned in the Chuck Wendig books. Who's the from the, why can't I think of his name? The Mando guy who was wearing the armor, the guy that you like, who is the,
Oh yeah.
what the hell is
And
wrong
now
with me?
Justified, Space
Yeah,
Justified.
right. That guy. Chat, help us.
Marshall, what the most blanking brain fart we've ever had on this show.
That guy. But
Yeah,
bring Jar Jar
Marshall.
back. Let's have Jar Jar in the Mando, or let's
Buddy
have
cop movie, The Marshall and Jar Jar. Let's go.
Cobb Vanth.
Cobb Vanth.
Thank
Damn
you,
it.
Angry
Thank you,
Tasty
Lloyd.
Cakes. Let's
This is why Lloyd gets a paycheck from us, so he can remember that we're idiots. And
Timothy Oliphant. Yes, my goodness.
Yes.
Thank you so much. But yes, let's see him in Mando. Let's see him and Ahsoka do something together. That would be cool,
Yep.
right? I mean,
All of it. I'm here for all of it.
I am too. All right. Well, let's hit our last news story. Well, unfortunately, Respawn and EA say that the Mando video game is a no-go. Last week, we reported that rumors were spreading that Respawn EA, the company that brought us the beloved Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order games, was in the midst of creating a Mandalorian-themed first-person shooter. Well, yesterday it was revealed that as a result of over 650 layoffs at the game studio, the Mando video game was taken out of production in favor of a third entry in the Jedi series. The statement from Laura Miele, the president of EA Entertainment, said, quote, "It's always hard to walk away from a project, and this decision is not a reflection of the team's talent, tenacity, or passion they have for the game. Giving fans the next installments of the iconic franchises they want is the definition of blockbuster storytelling and the right place to focus." So this is also marking the first confirmation of a third installment of the Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor series coming to gaming platforms at some point. Who knows when? Here's my big issue. Here's my biggest concern. Again, it's a great opportunity for the fandom to blame Lucasfilm, to blame Star Wars as a franchise, to blame Disney for something. This is all on EA. EA dropped the ball on whatever this was. I don't pretend to know their business model. I don't pretend to know how they got to where they are. That said, they have canceled yet another game. But the reality is, and I was seeing a lot of this online saying, you know, Star Wars hasn't released a game in X number of years. It's been too few games in too short a time. You know how long it takes to create a AAA title?
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get it right. Here's the other thing. If EA or any of the game studios press out a game to get it to market too soon, they hurt themselves. They shoot themselves in the foot. I would much rather have them take the time to get a good game out the door, like Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, any of the games that have come out recently, Battlefront 2. But it's not going to just come out the door immediately. And we do have some great things on the horizon. Nick, how do you feel about this situation?
I think you nailed something specifically. If it's something they're going to do, they have to commit to do it. If they don't commit to do it, if they half-ass it, if they rush it, it's going to be filled with problems. You mentioned, I think it was Battlefront 2, that, you know, the microtransactions, there were so many problems when Battlefront 2 first came out that, for as much as Battlefront 1 was loved and everybody's like, holy crap, we get a Star Wars and we get to fly a speeder around an AT-AT and take it down. Like, Battlefront 2 came out with all this anticipation, excitement, and you had microtransactions, you had all these glitches and updates and downloads, and that's part of what happens when you rush something like this out. Like, you don't want that to happen. I think one of the challenges that we run into, again, in this world of social media, in this world of leaks and rumors and all this thing, we get more information than we need. We don't need to know all of this crap. I would much rather wake up tomorrow and be surprised and be like, holy shit, there's a new Star Wars video game coming out. Because otherwise, I'm sitting here with my, Empire Strikes Back cartridge. I'm with my NES original Star Wars cartridge. Like, that's the Star Wars video games that, we didn't know it was coming. We didn't know we were entitled to it. And there's an entitlement thing that I think applies to this. And that's a problem too.
100%. And the reality is this game was never announced. This Mandalorian game was never announced. It was rumored, and clearly they were working on something. But you folks, you had your hopes up for 2 days before it was shot down. So chill out.
Well, think about how long it took us to get the Lego Skywalker trilogy. Like, that game went through iterations. We're still waiting on, what's the mobile one? The Battle Arena. I forget what it's called.
Oh, yeah.
Hunters. The Star Wars Hunters game. Yep. Like, that is apparently out in Europe somewhere, but we don't have it. Like, there is an entitlement thing, but also, like, don't tell me about it. Let me be surprised when it's ready, and it's ready to, like, actually give it to us.
100%. 100%. Well, that wraps up the news for this week. We'll be back with more news next week, and we hope you join us. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will be joined by Arda Ocal from ESPN. So we'll be back with more ATG Live. Welcome back to ATG Live, your Thursday night home for all things Star Wars talk, conversation, news, etc., etc. Nick, one of the things I love about the new format is that we get to hang out with some great people. We've been very lucky to have some great people already, but this week we're bringing back a guest who joined us a couple months ago for an Around the Galaxy episode, and
he showed up at my birthday show as well, and made sure that I had to take some shots. So good friend of the show.
So anybody who makes you take a shot means it's definitely a good friend of the show. Yep. So all right, well, so let's bring in our special guest. Arda Ocal is with us. Arda, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back for a third time. The fifth time I expect a blazer.
We've got it on order.
Lifetimer jacket. The last time, you're right. The last time I was here to make sure that shots were had. Now, Pete, I will pander to you. I'm wearing a Flyers Marvel gritty mashup shirt just for you.
I appreciate that.
Totally not the right show on this side, but totally the right for the host on this side. So
totally works.
I still to this day can't believe that Philadelphia has embraced gritty. I really thought we were just going to rip them apart. I really did.
Yeah, you didn't all realize that this is going to become a hockey podcast. Now we're going to talk hockey for 20 minutes.
We're totally fine for it. Well, Arda, we are thrilled that you are back with us again. You've become a part of the crew, and we always love when we get to talk to you and when we get a chance to message you, maybe even live while you're working and trying to blow you up and pester you. But for anybody who may be tuning in tonight or catching this on the replay that doesn't know who you are, give us a quick rundown. Who is Arda Ocal?
I am checking those messages, by the way, when you're just like, hey, I'm say this word or whatever. I try to throw in the Star Wars reference specifically so you will notice it. And I definitely do that. So I'm Arda. I work for ESPN. I do NHL, Sports Center, that kind of stuff. But most importantly, like everyone here, I am a giant Star Wars nerd. And we actually also do a Star Wars podcast with ESPN called Never Tell Me the Odds, which is a lot of fun. And it's the best. Being a Star Wars fan is the best, as we all know. So here we are.
I've really gotten into the Never Tell Me the Odds show, and I just love the back and forth. And what I love about it is, it's what I'm finding so cool is like everybody's Star Wars fans. Like the lines of, I remember back in the 90s when Star Wars was kind of dead. And I was always sort of like, I'm a Star Wars fan. And people would be like, oh, okay, yeah, my son loves Star Trek too. And I'm like, nah, not the same thing. But you have mentioned in the past that your Star Wars fandom really kind of blossomed during the Disney era. But I couldn't help but notice that recently you were in Galaxy's Edge. What did you think of it? Let's talk a little bit about your Galaxy's Edge experience.
So I was there for a grand total of 7 minutes a month ago. I was with my oldest daughter. She's 4. She does not like Star Wars at all. So it was pretty heartbreaking for me to walk through Batuu and have to like speed run it. And like, I want to stop there. Oh, I'm a Falcon. This and that. And I'm just like, I'm not going to be able to experience any of this. I bought one of those Star Wars themed Coca-Cola bottles. I had enough time to do that, and then I just went right to Toy Story Land, just right beside, Stars Galaxy's Edge. But I went this week. It was actually a shoot for the podcast because we did a live podcast. It was Star Wars night at the Tampa Bay Lightning game the next day, and so the day before we went to Galaxy's Edge to collect some content, and it was awesome. The thing I kept saying all morning was the attention to detail is spectacular everywhere. I mean, even the recycling bins are droids, like everything is like, you feel completely immersed in a Star Wars land. Like you feel like you're on Batuu. Like it's just awesome. The level of detail that they put into it and the level of thought that they put into it. And I don't know, like you can spend hours in there and not be done.
That's the wild thing, like that there. And just a week or two ago, I was in Universal Studios for a job, which was cool. But going through the Harry Potter experience as well is very similar in that even though it's like a bunch of just like people wearing normal everyday clothes, you feel like you're in that world somehow. And I don't know how they play. I guess it's all that detail. I guess it's all just sort of the things that are supporting the experience that bring you there. What was your favorite part of it?
Rise of the Resistance by far. Yeah. That might be the greatest ride I've ever been on.
Yeah.
And I had heard it was good, but I didn't think it was that good. Like it was spectacular to me. I was like edge of my seat. Everything was like, oh my gosh. I even by the way, I fell for it. When you walk in, that spoiler alert, when you walk in and there's like the 100 droid or 100 stormtroopers in front of you.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought that they were human beings.
Yeah,
I really did. I looked at them and I'm like, wait a minute, they're moving here. Like I fell into it. I was like, there's got to be at least 1 or 2 people among these droids or these troopers.
It's that wild attention to detail that Disneyland and Disney World just get. And I remember, I'm going to screw it up, so I won't go into detail because I will definitely screw up the story. But the whole thing about the winking toucan or something at the Tiki Bar from 19 whatever 70 and just like that kind of detail that they get you with, and because you can forget yourself, and that's what's so great about that entire Star Wars experience. There is you could really just kind of lose yourself in that. But I think one of the challenges is, though, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because Star Wars, the Galactic Cruiser, Star Cruiser, closed. And I think that was an experience that may have been a step too far for the average fan. Like, I think like the average fan can walk through Batuu and just, and then from there, like you said, go over to, Toy Story Land or whatever. But that it seemed to have reached its saturation point pretty quickly. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to go, but I often think about, like, if I brought my wife and my daughter and my son, me and my son would be like, carrying blasters and lightsabers and running around hunting stormtroopers. My wife and daughter would be like, this is kind of nerdy. So like, where do you think, and now apparently there's been some permits pulled, so they're doing some work on that. What would you like to see as a Star Wars hotel experience in Disney for you and your family?
I mean, I couldn't have afforded the Galactic Star. Like, the Galactic Star Cruiser experience sounded awesome.
Right.
Like, you're completely immersed in a Star Wars world from morning to night, and you're there for a couple days. It was prohibitive for me, as a price point. I completely understand that.
Yep.
I would love to, but if you told me there was a Star Wars hotel as part of an offering, like, in the same vein as All-Star Sports Resort or, all the other hotels at Disney, I'd be down for that. I would love a Star Wars themed hotel, even if it was, hey, here's a memorabilia wing, or there's some Jedi walking around and stormtroopers are escorting you to your room. Like, I will say this, the other thing that I thought was really impressive about Galaxy's Edge was the show, like, the Kylo Rens and the stormtroopers, like, they're really good. Like, they really get into the moment, and they're really, like, very present, and they're doing a great job. But also the actors or the people that are working on the rides, the members of the Empire, or even Smuggler's Run, like, those people are terrific.
Yeah,
like they really seem like they're enjoying it, and they're like, they got jokes. Like, it's very well done.
I was standing in line to buy Ahsoka lightsabers last time I was there. And I make it sound like I'm there all the time. I've been there 3 times over the last 4 years.
In the last week.
I've been there. Yeah, I just got back. But even the people in line are like, bright suns, and they're playing the game. And it's funny to watch people try to get them to break. And the good ones are just like, oh, no, I'm not familiar with your world or whatever. It's pretty cool. So,
I love it.
Well, and you talked about, you guys were there, you collected some content, and you've shared, some clips out on your Twitter feed. I don't know if it's from the show or from one of either Clinton or Ryan. Somebody shared some, clips out of you guys with Rise of Resistance, in the Falcon, all that kind of stuff. And something that stood out to me, and I would be this way, I haven't been yet, but I will be this way when I go, which was, in all 3 of your faces, it was a childlike wonder and joy, which I think truly does speak to the detail that Disney and Imagineering puts into this kind of stuff. But also just that thing, like, we all grew up or came to Star Wars going, oh, I want to live there. I want to do that. And you get to, and I think that's really special. And it was to me, it was very noticeable in all 3 of you guys, just in those few clips that you shared, building a lightsaber, going through those rides. It was neat to see that. Did it feel childlike, I guess?
100%. We felt completely immersed. We were overjoyed. I told them, Clinton Yates and Ryan McGee are the 2 others that I do the podcast with. We're literally like we're at 3 completely different corners of ESPN coming together because of our love for Star Wars. And it's the best. Like, we've become great friends through our love of Star Wars and the passion, and basically nerding out about it on every episode that we do, right? So cool. Like, discovering that intersection between sports and Star Wars, which is a lot of fun. When we were there, like I told them repeatedly that my cup was full, like, half an hour after we got there, and it's just continuously overflowing for the several hours after. Like, it was just one of the best career experiences, no doubt. But it was just, like, definitely a highlight because it was just so, like, you could tell, like, it just took you back to when you discovered it and fell in love with it, and it just brought your passion to a whole new level. And like, it makes you absolutely want to go back several times.
I believe it. Well, there's such an escapism in it. Obviously, you're escaping from a work day. You're able to escape into this fantasy world. And I want to use that as a little bit of a transition here. Also, speaking about escapism, you did something recently that I just ate up every bite of, which is, you have a TED Talk that just dropped last week or the week before. And I watched it as soon as I saw that it was out, because I was like, hey, I know that guy. I want to hear what he has to say. and it spoke directly to me. And I messaged you about it after the fact and just was like, I could have written this. Like, I feel this exact same way. Tell us about that experience. Tell us about the talk. Give us a little, what it's about. Tell us about Arda, the TED Talk expert now.
And you were the first to message me, actually. I want to make that clear. No, you were the very first person when they finally posted. You posted months after the fact, and it was like, you were the very first person when that video got posted. So I appreciate that.
Well, it's that good. I really loved it.
Well, for Star Wars fans, the final third of the talk is all about Star Wars. And I basically I don't want to spoil it too much because I'd love for you guys to watch.
Go check it out.
Watching. But basically I do a deep dive on Star Wars and how I find inspiration through watching Star Wars in ways that you may not necessarily consider. And I use Grand Admiral Thrawn as like the sort of centerpiece of that. It'll make sense if you happen to check it out. But for Star Wars fans, I think you'll enjoy it. There's a couple of the standard Star Wars jokes in there that we love to hear. But yeah, no, I appreciate that because I'll say this, like, people ask, like, what was the toughest part of doing the TED Talk? Honestly, it wasn't difficult to be up in front of a bunch of people talking. Especially in my line of work, it was memorizing a 20-minute speech. That was the toughest part because I can ad-lib something for half an hour. I can read a prompter for half an hour. That's no problem. But if you're asking me to memorize word for word something, especially something that I wrote, like that I found to be the most challenging part because then there's this added pressure that I don't normally feel in my job of, I have to like make sure that I know where I am in this speech. And there was no monitor in front of me to tell me where I am. Like this was all from memory. So that was the most stressful part for sure.
Well, it's very impressive, and it does something else that I love, and of course spoke to me. And you talked about it even with your co-hosts in the podcast. Is it brought in sports, it brought in Star Wars, and it created this kind of mixed environment where you're like, this speaks to a lot of different people on a lot of different levels. And I think that's something that makes a talk like that successful. Is you're sharing your real experience, but it can go for the sports guy, the nerd, or the ones like me who are both of those things.
I appreciate that. No mention of Gritty, Pete. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Maybe I'll do a TED Talk on Gritty. Yeah. I don't know.
The benefits of Gritty in society. I like that.
But it is what it is. It's interesting because I think that that's again, we were kind of saying it before, like Star Wars is like, it really is reaching everybody, and we finally have reached this point where it's like it doesn't matter if you're the jocks or the nerds, right? If you go back to high school, there's like everybody can get into it. You can see a guy down at the local McDonald's wearing a Star Wars shirt. You can see it's just so baked into everything we do. And now it's like it's okay to be a fan, and it's funny to say now because it's not a recent phenomenon. It has grown, but I think it speaks to just how deeply a part of our collective consciousness it is. But speaking of collective consciousness and things, this is me and Nick say it all the time. It's an embarrassment of riches. All the Star Wars coming out, right? We got Acolyte coming next. We've got Tales of the Jedi. We've got for your daughter who doesn't think Star Wars is cool, she can watch The Young Jedi. We've got Skeleton Crew coming. We've got 4 movies on the horizon. What if you could pick one of the things that we know is coming and just watch it tomorrow and be have it ready for you? What are you picking to watch and why?
To your point about Young Jedi Adventures, we have a 1-year-old as well, and I was like, you know what? And I decided this today. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have her watch Young Jedi Adventures just so I could start her as early as possible. And it kind of worked a little bit on the 4-year-old too, because it's almost like, oh, wait a minute. Younger one is just sort of watching it. So maybe I'll finally watch it. So like, I think we're almost there, boys. We're almost there. Like I can see the inflection point. Like I could just see it. And I'm like, oh, unlimited power. Yeah.
It's like Bluey for nerds. That's what we're talking about. Bluey for nerds.
Yes, that's how I should say it. Bluey for nerds. Come on. Oh man, there's a lot. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I can't wait for. I mean, I'm a Thrawn guy. I can't wait for more Thrawn stuff. So Mandalorian Grogu. I hope Thrawn is like the centerpiece of that. As on the bad guy side. So I hope that, I can't wait for that. Acolyte's gonna be interesting because like we don't get much live action High Republic. Like, isn't this the first one? So
Yeah.
so that's gonna be interesting, right? I will say, like, I've started to get into the Star Wars comics. Like I've started. I've been, I'd say, about 4 or 5 months. And the one that I'm still like struggling to catch up is the High Republic era.
Yeah.
And I've been told you got to read Light of the Jedi. Like that's the starting point. Like read that book and then you'll be good. I have not done that yet. And maybe that's why I'm still a little like, some of it's like just going over my head. Pete, we were texting about this the other day.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of goes over my head a little bit. Not that I'm not enjoying it. It's just I need to catch up a little bit, especially on that era. So maybe Acolyte will be a good, maybe that'll kind of, make it easy for me to dive into that era and love it,
Yeah. I'm hoping that too. I think it's I think it'll be interesting because I feel like, and maybe it's just this weird sort of spot that I'm in as a fan since I saw it in 77 as a kid. It's like, it always takes people like the prequels. I've said it before. I admit I was not a big fan of Phantom Menace when I walked out the door. When I saw it the first time, I've since come to, it's one of it always falls in the top 3 now, which is weird for me because I remember when I walked out, that wasn't going to be it. But maybe that's what this will take. Maybe the Acolyte will make me go, I need to know more about that. And this time next year, perhaps I'll be all in on it as well. But I think that's going to be interesting. I also think so. Have you been watching Bad Batch? Have you gotten to the animation?
I haven't gotten to I've watched the first 2. I haven't watched the third one of the third season yet, but boy, is it good. I thought it was tremendous. I loved the addition to lore and canon that it added. I love the characters. I'm a big fan. I think they did a terrific job with that series as a whole. And the trailer with the Asajj Ventress, all of a sudden, like, where's this going? I'm like, where are you kidding me? Like, what's going on here? I can't wait to see how this plays out.
And I feel like this is something that I talk about every time somebody brings up Bad Batch. But even in the first 2 seasons, and certainly continuing now, and what we've seen already is not only are the stories good and the characters, and like you said, for anybody who loves Asajj Ventress, like to get that tease, like just makes you go crazy and get excited. But it's such a beautiful show. Like the visuals of it are so spectacular. The music that the Kiner brothers are doing is just it's very Star Wars. And I caught myself in the first couple of seasons noticing those things even more and looking at the rich backgrounds, the city chase. And I think the second season had that very like matte painting feel. Like it brought back some of those same like early Star Wars vibes and feelings. And I'm just going, how great is this that we get something that looks this cool and tells these good stories, and it's animated. Like it's not supposed to be quote unquote for a 45-year-old man, but it's freaking awesome. And I don't care. Like it's great.
And it's so rich though too. Like that's the thing. Like it's almost like I know that there's people out there that will sort of like dismiss the animated part of it and almost like miss out on these like wonderful, lovely stories because it's not live action. Like some people will just stick to the live action, which is totally fine. Right. But you're missing out on these like incredible stories.
Yeah. And to take that to the extreme, that's how I felt about Rebels for the first. I was like, what is this Rebels thing? And then I watched it. It's one of my favorite Star Wars things, period. End of sentence. Star Wars Rebels is that good. And the stories and the lore that it develops to me is just top level.
I think I think when you were on the first time, I think we talked a little bit about how Star Wars does work on those multiple levels. I always think of, like, to me, one of the best multi-tiered, multi-level stories of all time is the movie The Matrix, because it works on, if you just want to watch a fun, crazy action cyberpunk movie, there it is. But if you want to get down to religious overtones and philosophy and all that, that's there too. And that's why I think Star Wars continues to work, is I watched the last 3 episodes of season 2 with my son who hadn't watched it yet. And watching tech die again was like somebody started cutting onions in my room, because it was like it worked, and it shouldn't work like as it's a cartoon, and it pulls you in because you just care so much about the characters, you care so much about everything that's going on there.
Pete, I'm really hoping, I don't know anything, I'm really hoping for a somehow he returned.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping here. All right, fingers crossed, man.
Yep.
I don't know.
They say no one's ever really gone. So,
hey, look, they cut Darth Maul in half, and he came back as the baddest villain in the world. So, I think
what a comeback! What a comeback! He fell, man. Like he was down that pit, and then all of a sudden he's even better than before.
Yeah, I always say he
legend.
Back. He came back as sort of the Joker of Star Wars. He's like all about chaos and just. Oh, it was great.
By the way,
stuff.
I at Star Wars night at Emily Arena where the Lightning play, Maul was the best by far. Like the best cosplayer was Darth Maul, and like he was like perfect, like the horns, so cool. Everything. And I just was like, how long does this take you? And he was like, about 2.5 to 3 hours. And my wife helps me. And I just can't imagine. I just imagine like this guy, he's sitting there and like his wife is like, patiently like painting every stroke. And they're just like, having a normal conversation. Right, like, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, that is that is 100% true love. If your spouse is helping you with makeup that takes about 2.5 to 3 hours to complete.
Right. I can only imagine asking my wife, hey, listen, I'm going to the game tonight. Would you mind painting my face as Maul? Help me with the horns again. I don't
help me with the horns again.
Yeah.
There's a new shirt. Help me with the horns.
Help me with the horns again, will you? Not again. Man. Yeah. Outstanding.
Oh man. Well, Arda, I gotta thank you once again for hanging out with us. This has been a blast. We'll have to have you back. We're gonna make you a regular if you're not careful. But we do have the blazer on order.
Thank you. Yes, we'll imperative. Okay, I will hold out on appearance number 5 until like I want ATGLive. I want the logo here, and on the inside I want a big number 5. Like I am just waiting.
Well, I got it. Speaking of blazers, I got to ask because I picked up. I was, what's the little sunglasses thing on
that's
Arda's
my
jacket?
So I put a tie bar.
Yeah,
a sunglasses tie bar here.
Yep.
It's just like a gimmick. It's just like something to, like just a cute little way to stand out. Like that. I've just been doing that for years, and I don't know. It's just people are like, it's cool. Like enough that I keep going on with it, and no one has ever told me not to do it, so I'm just like, I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Yep.
Why not? Exactly. Any way to stand out, Peep. Boys. It is.
We'll make sure your blazer has room for it.
Stitching on it. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Yeah.
Boys, bring me back anytime, Pete. Nick, I love this. So you guys rock. So like, let's not wait till Nick's next birthday for me to crash and get him to have another shot. All right.
For sure. In fact, Nick, as soon as we go to break, you're going to be doing some shots. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, Arda, thank you so much, man. We will talk to you again soon.
See you, boys.
And we'll be back with more ATG Live.
I had kind of told myself I would rather try to find things in the wild than just go on eBay and buy it. Because ultimately, if you want to spend the money, you can go buy almost anything online and have it shipped to your door. But there's, for Indiana Jones, there's that adventuring sense of like, holy crap, you'll never guess what I found at the flea market or at a thrift store, that kind of thing.
100%. It's so much fun. I used to would go to different places, toy stores back then, and look for things like that. Mm-hmm. And then, just recently we really started going to like antique stores and stuff like that. And you find little things here and there. And just when I see like an Indiana Jones, like a VHS or something like that, I freak out. I love it. It's a great feeling. But as you said, you're working, to me, it's like you're really working for it, really trying to find that treasure.
Right.
Versus, point and clicking and ordering it. So it definitely is a whole lot more fun. And it's more meaningful to me if you find it out in the wild.
How's it going?
I should have done it while he was still here. I didn't, but he's right. And you were right. We go to commercial and I go, oh yeah, that's where my shot glass went. So to our friend Arda, to, everybody hanging out in the chat with us tonight. We're about to get to your messages, your voicemails, all your fun stuff. Cheers and happy Star Wars.
Happy Star Wars. I don't have a shot handy. Oh my gosh, I am a failure as a host. That's okay. I'll be fine. You did just see the clip of this week on Around the Galaxy. We had Alex Arnold talking about Indiana Jones with Nick. And as we mentioned earlier, if you're a patron, join us Sunday night. We'll be talking to Arda's co-host on Never Tell Me the Odds, Clinton Yates, who's also, he's on this little network called ESPN. He's a columnist. He knows his stuff. So we'll be doing that this week. But hey, Lloyd, bring us in for Intercepted Transmissions.
Where are those transmissions you intercepted?
We're back with Intercepted Transmission. Lloyd, how are you, bud?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Tired, but good.
Tired. Well, we're happy that you're here. We're happy that you've been monitoring the chat. We're happy you've been hanging out. What maybe before we get to that, let's real quick. I know you have a couple opinions on the EA respawn thing. So we're gonna I'm gonna set the I'm not gonna set the clock. We don't have one handy, but I'm gonna give you a couple, like a minute. Tell us your
I'll go quick.
Yeah.
So a lot of these issues right now in the gaming space aren't just representative of like one company. They're hitting everything.
Yeah.
And EA, from what I've been able to gather, EA is starting to cut ties with a lot of their licensed properties as well. And they're downsizing by about 7% across the board.
Yep.
This decision is totally on EA. Respawn had no control over it. And it kind of sucks because Respawn's getting hit with layoffs. Most of the other studios under their umbrella are getting hit with layoffs as well. So a lot of games that were on the being in the oven essentially are now being shelved, canceled. Even Embracer Group is selling their biggest studio right now.
Yeah,
go private, and it's Saber who's doing the KOTOR remake.
Yep.
So a lot of companies right now are just, they got bloated during COVID, and here we are, 5 years later, and we're still feeling the after effects. So with this Respawn one, I don't know, because everyone knows what you're getting when you get Respawn.
Yeah.
And that was going to print money, and EA doesn't know what they're doing anymore. They're chasing that dollar. They don't know how to monetize it. They want to sell the FIFA points essentially for Star Wars.
Well,
right.
But here's the thing, and I think this is interesting, and I'm not at all, as deeply ingrained in video games as a lot of people are, but we've seen this over the years. And part of it is licensing and some of that kind of stuff. But like when I was growing up, Madden and NCAA college football were two of the biggest things in the world. And it was EA Sports. And you heard that thing, load up EA Sports. It's in the game. Like, there hasn't been an NCAA college football game in at least 5,
There's
if
one
not
coming.
more. I know it's finally coming back, but it's taken that long.
Yeah.
Something that you literally look forward to every year. And I live in the deep South, and the SEC is, king of everything.
Mm-hmm.
To see how EA has changed all of their video game operations, whether it's something like Star Wars, football, sports, it's interesting to see how those things have shifted and developed. And like I said, I don't know enough about it to really be helpful, but that stands out to me when we're talking about this topic.
In Star Wars in the gaming space, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's cursed. They've canceled 10 Star Wars games so far. And they're kind of playing it safe. They're just constantly putting out ports and remasters.
Sorry,
I had to put that up.
Yeah, and that's
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the key though is getting. I'd rather get good games. Go ahead. And
I want quality over quantity.
Right.
Sure,
absolutely, do them right. All right. Well, speaking about quality over quantity, do we have any? Let's start with a phone call. Who do we got?
All right. Well, we got my girl, Cheyenne.
Hello, host. This is Cheyenne of Shea Gatsby. This is about 2 months in the making because I keep forgetting to leave a voice message. But roughly 2 months ago, me and Lloyd kept getting ads on our phones for candles. But they were Star Wars themed candles. Like there's one for Tatooine. I'm like, how the hell do they know what Tatooine smells like? I don't even want to know. I don't even think I want to know what it smells like. But my question is to you, if you could design your own Star Wars candle, what would it be? What would it smell like? And you can do a particular character or planet. Just have fun with it. PYE.
We got into a fight about this. I remember this conversation. We started gagging on what Coruscant would have smelled like on the lower levels.
Oh my god!
Ooh, yeah, not great.
So, go nuts.
Go ahead, Nick. What do you got?
All right, so I have two thoughts. Tatooine,
Right.
because she mentioned Tatooine specifically. Yeah. I don't know why. I mean, obviously desert, like you've got dry, you've got arid, whatever, but we've also seen a lot of like, docking bays and canteen. I feel like there's a little bit of a greasy smell to Tatooine.
Okay.
But the one that I'm excited about is, exactly, pure exhaust. She's probably talking about Coruscant, but mine is Endor, and Endor is definitely like a pine, naturey, a little bit of pine,
flesh,
a little bit of carbon. I'm just saying, I'll go with an indoor themed candle. It's got some mountain, tree, air situations happening.
Okay, I'll just first thing that comes to mind is Hoth, and it'll be sort of a pepperminty, Christmassy smell. I don't know. I don't think about candles that often, but I guess that might be the direction I would go. I don't know. I'm not sure.
The underside of Jabba the Hutt.
No.
Jabba taint. Hashtag Jabba taint.
Oh gosh. Oh, there we go. Let's get to another call before the vomit starts.
Hello, ATG and more specifically Pete Fletzer. I have a question. This is Eric from Honest God. My question is, if you were reached out by Lucas Publishing or Del Rey about, fully canonizing and, legitimizing your written work of, the expanded Phantom Menace, book that you wrote, but they had revisions, what would you be willing to let go of, but what else would you be willing to, do as they want? I just thought it was an interesting idea, all hypothetical, of course. I don't think you're there with the context yet, but I hope you have a good time. Zillow gang out.
So he sets it up as like this really encouraging thing, and then he's like, but I don't think you're quite there yet. So I don't know. So for those that don't know, yes, the thing that got me back into the Star Wars fandom, the thing that got me into podcasting was actually I wrote a 123,000 word fan fiction novelization of the Phantom Menace, where I basically I called it. Yeah, I'm a nerd. And I took the canon that we know today and blah 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 blah. His question was, what would I be willing to accept essentially from Lucasfilm changing if they wanted to canonize it and put it, make it and publish it? Anything. That's my answer. Anything. Yes. If they want to, I don't care. Do whatever you want. Just publish me. Take me.
Put LFL, LTD. Put it on the back of the cover.
That's right.
Put your name on it and
make it a coloring book. I don't care.
Yeah.
I could totally fine with that. But hey, by the way, if you are interested and you want to read this 123 word monster, head on over to the sswnetwork.com and you can find it under it's called Duel of the Fates. Before they had that idea for episode 9, I had it for episode 1. So anyway, enough about me. Let's go to the next call.
Hey fellas, this is Matthew. Hey, we went to a little pulp culture con in Oklahoma City on Saturday so my son could geek out and dress up and meet Freddy Fazbear and Chica. So we went and we were waiting in line and we got up there and got up to Kevin Foster and I was wearing a Star Wars shirt as usual. And we got to talking about, between my son peppering with 50 questions about Freddy Fazbear, about Star Wars and how he likes Star Wars and how he looked at my shirt and he seen that I had a shirt with a TIE fighter. And he said, the TIE fighter is really underrated. I've always loved the TIE fighter. A lot of people don't like the TIE fighter, but I've always liked the TIE fighter. And I'm like, that's cool. So I told him, I know everybody likes the Millennium Falcon, but my favorite Star Wars vehicle is the Land Speeder. So we're both nerds. So Freddy Fazbear, Kevin Foster, likes Star Wars, is a Star Wars nerd, and his favorite Star Wars vehicle is a TIE fighter. So that's pretty cool. All right, guys, take it easy. Have a good day. Listen to you Thursday. Peace out. Bye.
Another tale from Enid, this time with a celebrity interview.
I think it might be a TIE fighter.
It might be. I think we gotta get him on the show now. This Forster guy from Five Nights at Freddy's. He's a Star Wars guy. He's a Star Wars nerd. Hey, if you're listening, DM us, baby. You can be on the show. We'd love to have you. So that's pretty cool. Thank you for the tales from Enid. Lloyd, were there any comments that we wanted to bring up and chat about?
A couple, not very many, but going back to filming the new stuff like the Mandalorian movie, JD comments with California has such a diverse environment, it could be anything. And he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. It's true. I just feel like I want Tunisia or some place overseas. I don't know. I'm just yeah, he's right. It does have you can get your snow, you can get your desert, you can get your forest, you can get your whatever.
Well, as long as you're not looking for deserts or snow, you could also shoot it in Alabama, which is one of the most biodiverse states in the entire United States of America. Just saying, we've got beaches, we've got mountains, we've got all the crap in between. But, we're going to have to deal with what we get. But as I said at the top of the show, it's all positive. Shoot it all in California. Give us a fun movie. Let's do it.
Just shoot it and let's do it. Yep. Yep. All right. Anything else?
Yes. TW McKay says, if Ahmed Best wants to be a Lucasfilm ambassador, more power to him. Long live the sabered hand.
Yes. Yep. I love that idea, Nick, that you were talking about. It would be, he's just the man. So I've told the story 100 times, but I'll tell it one more quick time. When I went to the Phantom Menace premiere in New York City, Ahmed lived in New York City. He was in Stomp. That's where he got his start. And everybody's walking through the red carpet line, and they're stopping Liam Neeson, and they're stopping all these other people. And there's Ahmed Best, who nobody knows, because first of all, you didn't see him in the movie. Second of all, who the hell's Ahmed Best? And I remember he was talking to a reporter, and he goes, what was really cool? That Jar Jar guy. He was really cool. And he just had so much pure joy. He was so proud and so happy to have been in a Star Wars. And let's just keep that going. He's just he's a freaking gift to the fandom.
And finally, Brian Fennessy says, because you guys are ordering a blazer for Arda, he suggested an Anthony Daniels style gold blazer.
I like that.
Like Waterboy style in a gold jacket. So
I feel like we're literally obligated now. If he comes on, we only have 2 more times, so we gotta save up for it. We gotta figure out what we're gonna get. We have to design it.
His measurements.
Yeah, we got to get his measurements. If we have anybody who's listening who's a tailor that can create such a thing, please talk to us. We'll be wanting to talk. But yeah, so speaking of guests who've been on 5 times, as Nick had mentioned earlier, we have a bunch of guests coming up over the next couple of weeks, and one of them, I'm gonna let the cat a little bit out of the bag, is Clayton Sandell. We don't have the date finalized yet, but he'll be on with his new book, and that'll be his 5th. So maybe we can try the jacket with Clayton. That's right. And we'll go from there, and we'll
test that jacket with Clayton. But yeah, exciting stuff.
So don't forget, this week on Around the Galaxy in your podcast feed right now is our interview with Alex Arnold, the man with 2 first names. It's a different trip for us on Around the Galaxy. It's into the world of Indiana Jones. It's a lot of fun. It was Nick on a solo trip, and it worked out really well. It was a lot of fun. Sunday night, we are recording with Clinton Yates from ESPN. If you are a patron, I think you've gotten your link. If you haven't, please let us know, because we want you to join us Sunday night, 9:00. We're going to be recording with him, and that show will drop within the next week or so. We're also coming up on episode number 200 of Around the Galaxy. 5 years of Around the Galaxy will be happening in April. And Nick, we are excited because we are coming up to Podathon 2024.
We are barely 2 months away from it.
Yes, May the 4th is when Podathon 2024 will be. We have started the conversations. We have started speaking to our friends to get guests. We have started talking to podcasters who are going to be a part of the show. It is going to be wild. It's going to be bigger and better than ever, and we are so excited. You can right now go to thepodathon.com to get more information. And if you want to donate today, you want to get ahead of things, you want to donate today so that you forget about it and then you donate again on May 4th, you can do that. Head on over to thepodathon.com for more information and follow us on all your social media channels so that you will get all the information about Podathon. It's going to be a blast this year. Lloyd, thanks for all your help today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Arda Ocal for hanging out with us a bit. Thank you to all of you who were in the chat tonight. We had a big chat. We had a lot of fun people hanging out with us. And Nick, may the force be with you.
Always.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend, time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night.